Do you remember I said at the beginning, my job? Are you on the phone?
Not anymore.
No, yeah.
Just playing.
Taking notes.
We have these nice bullshit boundaries we put between each other. Yeah. And I wish they weren't there. We call them all sorts of things, and it could be identity or whatever. But we think we're separate, right? But every now and then, when you practice this path, those break open. When you practice all the list of things, those break open a little bit. And my experience, it scares the hell out of me. When I look at you and I feel like I love you in a way that I would love me and I would want all your happiness, something in me recoils. Mm-hmm. Like I'm gonna get burnt. But at some point you have to step closer and closer to those moments where you really look at each other together, like these people in this room and the people that you walk past, and realize that we really are the same. And all those, when you do that, this is the path to bodhicitta. When you do that and you realize you're not going to be harmed by loving everyone in a clever way, yeah, in a way that is in accord with reality. When you realize you're not going to be hurt, in fact the opposite, then you do it a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then you're going to get hurt. But then even that, after a while, you're like, that wasn't really hurt. Because all the instances of connectivity and love are completely worth that burn. Completely worth it. The burn sucks. Yeah? But my goodness, all those moments that weren't burned, the passion in that. Like genuinely, and I have this feeling, I just had it now when I shouted at you on purpose to play. I'm like, no, it was just to play. I'm like, how do I share this precious information with you in a way that really serves wherever the hell you're at your world? I wish I knew, I really do wish I knew what you're going through. And then I have the answer that's specific to you, because that would solve all the problems. And so when you open up like that, and you feel it, the unintelligent response is to recoil. Yeah. So if you've ever had that or been close to that with other people, don't recoil. Okay. Just love everyone. That was just an aside. Now you can all make fun of me. No. Lineage for the teachings in this thing comes from Lord Buddha, 500 BC, from a prayer called Prayer of Samantabhadra, Master Asanga, Ornament of the Sutras, Master of Vasubandhu. Do you remember what that is? Treasure House of High Knowledge. Yeah, Abhidharma Kosha. Master Kamalashila, which those of you who went to Geshe Michael's teaching, who went? Yay, I think he taught from his text. I had a friend who went. Cool. Was it Donald Trump? No. We're gonna get him to this. He needs it. And from the Lamrim Chama. Okay. Quotation. Lots of, I'm going to rush through a bunch of this, and I'm going to get to the core of the signposts to get to see that ultimate state of reality, which you can only do in meditation. And when you're meditating, there's all these signposts within meditation, right? So I'm going to summarize what that is. But just so you know, the beautiful thing about the Tibetan tradition and the Indian tradition is that they have spent so much time looking at consciousness that they've developed all these subtle differences between states of mind that are related to meditation. So Gom or Gompa is to habituate, means meditation. Samten is stable state of mind, and so on. You've heard of Shine and Ting and Xing and the rest. Just know that there are, once you begin looking at your mind, you can qualify different states of mind that get finer and finer. And that's possible, just as possible as when we look at a set of anything, our mind just groups that over here and that over here. You know, that's a car and that's a wagon and that's a this. And you can do that to internal states, which is the only thing really worth spending time investigating, even though you still have to do all the external things. Because when you're kaput, when your body's finished, consciousness doesn't stop, according to this tradition. What do you think made this whole experience of being in the first place? Nothing? Can something come from nothing?
No.
Something came from something. The body came from sperm and egg and cells multiplying and the rest. But your perception, your experience, your consciousness within this thing, where did that come from? Why was it coded that way and not that way, or that way and not that way? Who did it? It's in there, and it continues. And it will continue over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, like those trees with the seeds and the trees with the seeds and the seeds and the seeds, until you break the cycle and have a completely different experience. So, what? No, I can give you the summary. When we studied this course, there were 5 parts: how to prepare for meditation, 6 conditions of a good environment, the correct posture, some mental processes that occur when you're meditating, and the things we should place our mind on to meditate. Yeah, I'm going to touch on all these 5 topics. How to prepare for meditation, and often it's overlooked, but it really is this thing that sets the groundwork for the kind of meditation you're about to have. So preparation for meditation is it's all about the meditation you're about to have. What it does, preparing for meditation, actually I'll probably cover it. Yeah. Yeah, how to prepare for meditation.
Oh wait, go back.
No! It's all available online at $9.99. Do it once, even though I didn't do it for Birdie, okay?
Why?
She likes Trump.
I'll just
This would be nice.
Well, not that one.
I know, but it goes after
No, you
this
did
one.
it for
That's
Birdie.
the yeah. Huh?
You actually did it for Birdie because it's like the
Oh,
Birdie
did I?
meter just came
Okay,
up.
thanks.
Fine.
Because now I have a picture. So then
Yeah.
I can...
All this is saying is this entire 12-week course is broken up into these 5 subjects.
Yeah.
You should know how to prepare for meditation. And there's an outer part and an inner part to preparation. Then you've got to know, well, where the hell are you going to meditate? Are you going to do it on top of a yellow cab? No. You know? Are you going to do it out in the forest, in the cave?
Yeah.
No, rats nibble
Maybe.
on you. that we'll talk about the correct environment. Yep. And then how are you going to do it? Sitting, standing, laying down? You know, is that okay? So I'm just giving you the download as summary. So take it for what it is, but realize it relates to you actually meditating. Yeah? It's not just like, oh, that's good information. That would be stupid to just take it as information. Because remember emptiness. Remember dependent arising, karma. If things are blank, you're experiencing right now an instruction on how to get to the core of your mind that creates all of existence. Yeah, you're having that ripening, assuming you're experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. You could be daydreaming about ice cream. Assuming that's happening, something in your consciousness is saying to you, there is something about looking into your mind that can free your entire existence. And your reaction to it could produce the next result. And your reaction could be like, that's nice information. Let's go party. Wrong. You're being called by your own understanding of this to look at yourself in a specific way. I don't know how else to really prompt you to do something. Yeah. Okay. Preliminaries, how to prepare for meditation. You got to think of I'm going to show you the traditional method, but then I need you to make this viable and real for you, okay? The only way you're going to have a direct experience of suchness, emptiness, the ultimate state, and then free your mind, begin the path of habituation, is through meditation. You can't get on a spiritual path that will transform your consciousness without diving deep into your consciousness. And there's some ugly monsters in there, and they can scare you right out of your pants. Yeah? But don't worry, you will succeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Create a clean and sacred space. In this case, an altar. Okay? Why? Because you're going to load, there's a bunch of metal up there, there's a bunch of glass up there, there's a bunch of wood up there, there's a bunch of cloth up there, and it has zero meaning. Okay? It's just a statue. It's just a piece of wood. It's just some flickering light. But if you do that right, you can load and charge every single thing to the hair on the tip of the Buddha, the flickering of the light, with complete meaning, that every time your mind engages with it, that state appears, and that state appears. And then every time you return to that sacred space, what are you experiencing? What you've been creating. Yeah? So it begins as my statue of the Buddha. Stupid, right? And then it begins to transform into, oh my goodness, this is representing a being that actually transformed their consciousness. Oh my goodness, my relationship to understanding this shape has all to do with I've been coding my mind. And all of a sudden, it's alive. It's alive! It's alive. So creating a sacred space in your own home, a little place that you can invoke the deepest part of you, is essential. Yeah? So create a sacred space, an altar. You set forth beautiful offerings. Yeah? So you're playing now with your mind. You're gardening your consciousness and entering the parts of your mind that are filled with virtue. Remember the 5 paths? The first path was the path of accumulation, which meant you're full of gathering virtue, right? So you're sitting there pretending, right? Because you're making offerings of fruit and light and beautiful things to a piece of metal, right? But no, you're tricking your mind. When you sit there and you have a mental image of actually presenting an offering to enlightened beings, what's happening to your mind? You're imagining enlightened beings as enlightened. You're seeing yourself giving to an enlightened being. So you've planted the seed or the karma for generosity of the ultimate, towards an ultimate thing, towards a Dalai Lama or something like that. And so that seed must ripen. And the more you do it, the more that generates, until all of a sudden you might be working at an altar and doing a thing on a daily basis, and then you sit on the street. Like it happened to me walking in here today. I met this lady, I can't remember her name, and I just looked at her. She was an older lady, and she was like, this bliss came over me, and she's like, in my mind she was like a special someone. So I interacted with her, gave her a hug, and it was like a perfect blissful experience for me. She was just a normal lady for someone, you know. For me at that moment, she was a complete manifestation of all this coding that I've been doing in my mind. Was it real? Hell yeah. I felt complete love for this person. And she's like, I love you. I'm like, I love you too. Damn.
I had a stranger say I love you today too, when
Yeah.
I wouldn't give him food.
Wow. Yeah, this was really nice. So what I'm saying is you set forth offerings, right? So you make a beautiful space. Who's got a meditation space in their home? Okay. Who doesn't have a home? Yeah. You can carry a beautiful meditation space. Yeah. Good. A little box you set out, and then you generate a perfect mandala right there and then, wherever you go. This actually is a little stronger. It's easy to have your own little home space, and then you make it with all the, what you call that stuff that I collect, the knickknacks and the trash or whatever. You know, you can build it up with all those things. Or if you're traveling, then you have this little, you create a mental mandala. So do you understand what it's doing to your mind? It's not about the altar. It's not about the offerings. Although you have to have that experience in order to code your consciousness with those seeds. Does that make sense? Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the habituation part, right?
Yes.
Kind of
Yeah.
Getting into the groove.
Really believing you're making an offering to enlightened beings will be stronger karma than half-assed believing you're making an offering to enlightened beings. Yeah? Which will be a stronger karma than making an offering to a statue and thinking, boring, I've got to do this today.
But can you pretend to, like if you're not totally on board yet, can you pretend to believe?
Yeah,
Does
of
that
course.
count?
Yeah, but understanding that that's what you're doing, right? That it's empty, that at some point it will flip into a reality. And eventually you'll meet enlightened beings.
Mm.
This is this method. Yeah. And then you go to refuge, meaning you hold the wish. You're like, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I sitting on a cushion in front of metal and wood and water? And you think about the wish for enlightenment. You're like, that's right, I had renunciation the other day. I got fed up when things went south. Today I'm having an awesome day. I got a pay rise, but it's not going to stay. The only thing that's going to stay is the stuff in my mind. And everyone's in the same boat. So I'm doing this for me to figure it out, and then whenever people are suffering, if I figure it out, I can really help them. Yeah, so you think of that. Then you do the prostration, which is, may I think like an enlightened being, may I speak like an enlightened being, may I act like an enlightened being. And as you're doing that, in your mind, you're actually saying, what would I be like if I was an enlightened being? What would I speak like if I wasn't enlightened? You see, like it's all up. They're all methods to help you always keep your mind on being an awakened being. Because just like I said poo at the beginning, and you all had a picture of that. If I said your mind at peace, your mind at bliss, your mind in love. Imagine your mind in love for 1 minute. Imagine looking at the train and feeling love all the time. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling complete bliss in your body and in your mind and a peace of mind all the time. So I'm trying to get you to what it would feel like for you to be in that state. The more I force you to be there, the more you're actually being there. And then the more that seems normal. Your whole reality can be like that, the more you habituate that. So these are all tools to get your mind on you enlightened, you enlightened, you enlightened. And what happens? You begin to say, me enlightened. And you begin to say, oh, that little transaction, that had magic in it. And if you don't believe it's coming out there, if you see that it's coming there, it's cycling faster, it's coming faster, it's getting stronger faster. So then you prostrate and sit. And then you do, you use a bit of logic, okay? I don't know how you all do this part, for those of you who have this practice. But do you really believe that it's possible for a human being to evolve to a state of enlightenment? Do you really think that? Yeah? Or do you think we must all be afflicted? Because that's the way, at least the way I am, right? I'm afflicted. Often I'm afflicted. And my mind wants to tell me, you're all like me. You're all afflicted all the time, just as I am afflicted. And that excludes the possibility that that state it could be abolished. But then if you use logic, which is what we're going to do in April, you can say, have you ever had moments, let's say 1 minute, where you are at peace? Who has had 1 minute in their entire life where everything seemed right? Right? Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes. Continuous minutes. Right? Your being right now, you've just proved to yourself that your being right now has that capacity for at least 2 minutes. Sometimes longer, right? It's possible for you the current of your consciousness, the electricity of your being, to be in that state for 2 minutes? Logically, can that be 3? Yeah? Can that be 5? Logically. If it had 5, can it be 10? Completely free of suffering, right? Not suffering. Can it be a whole life? Can a being actually exist like that? So then you imagine the real possibility of enlightened beings existing. Out of all the billions of people that have come and gone here, surely some consciousnesses have flipped over into that state all the time. To me, that makes sense. Yeah, even though my reality doesn't show it all the time, but logically, I can buy that, and that's available to me. It's actually available to you. If you've had it for 1 minute, that's it. You're in, which is amazing. So then you imagine all those beings. If there's got to be at least one being, a Buddha, who's transcended suffering and gone into a state of continuous bliss and wisdom, then you call them. Are there really beings out there coming over because you call them?
Yeah.
Right? Where are you experiencing that? In your mind, right? Isn't that hot and sexy? Because as soon as you do, your mind is in that state. Oh my God. Your mind just created the possibility that a universe can be filled with enlightened beings looking at you as the only schmuck who's not enlightened. And you can believe that as a truth if you get the logic. Yeah? So if you do that powerfully, at the beginning of your meditation, you're saying, right in front of me, all you beings who know how to get to that state, come over, please. And if they are in that state of complete love and giving, their job is to do that. Like if you were completely enlightened, completely in love, completely in bliss, and your bodhisattva wish was to help every being remove suffering, and then you hear this tiny being in a meditation on a meditation cushion in a shitty apartment in New York saying, come over, please. They'll all be there. Yeah?
You have to ask them, I heard. They won't come.
Yeah. In asking them, you actually flip the curtain and they were always there. Yeah? In my apartment, I painted the room gold, and every speck of gold is them. Shiny. So I try and light a few candles. And what am I doing? I'm painting a bloody wall gold and I'm putting candle. But what's happening in my experience of that stuff that doesn't have a nature from its own side? I really am having visitations, yeah, in my mind. My mind is being coded with possible visitations from enlightened beings that logically could exist. Thousands of them in every reflection of the gold dust on the wall when the light flickers. So I light lots of lights. So, you visualize the collection of holy beings. Why? Because they're witnessing you getting enlightened, and all their awareness is available to you right there and then. And then you do this thing, gather goodness, purify obstacles, and you do that by going through the 7 ingredients. So,
You have 7 minutes.
I know.
Per ingredient.
No, we haven't even started. We haven't even started. Okay. You know how I said you set forth beautiful offerings? Yeah?
Mm.
You know the offering bowl practice? Who's done that before? The offering bowl practice, right? It's a really good way to get your mind on all the core components of the bodhisattva vows, okay? The stuff we learned in the bodhisattva thing. These 7 ingredients are that too. So after you've sat down, you sit there and you bow down to all these beings that you've just called. You make mental offerings. You've already done physical offerings, right? Which I'll go through in a second. And then you say, what part of me is blocking me from becoming that? And it can only ever be states of mind where you have been negative in your experience, where you've been angry or jealous or possessive or selfish or ignorant. And it's only those moments where you've lost control and you've been harsh towards others that is only ever going to stop you from being in a state of bliss. Whatever negativity you've done in you is what's stopping you from actually not being negative. So you want to go in there and go, let me find those and try and break them. Yeah? So a good practice is to go practically into what's the last time I was a shithead? You know, what's the last time I was actually ignorant towards someone? You know? So today, in my mind, I had a great business meeting. I was in a group of people that were doing really good work. Everything we were doing was awesome. I was even teaching them a little bit about emptiness. These are 20 business owners. Teaching them about bodhisattva activity and calling it something else. And they're all like really into it, and I'm like doing a great thing. Then that finished and I'm feeling all huffy and puffy and really nice. Yeah, which I should, because I just did a great virtue. And then this semi-homeless lady came up to me. She goes, "Give me $1." And I'm like, "No!" I'm like, what a retard. Like in my mind, like it was my instinctual reaction. She yelled at me, I yelled at her. And I'm teaching her a lesson. She teaches me a lesson, I teach her, and I'm like, "No, you're an idiot." You know? And then she walked off. You know? And so that action, although initially it was like showing herself to her, that was my motivation initially, the action, she might have needed $1. It stayed in my mind. I'm like, I could have helped her, but I didn't. Yeah? And that stayed in my mind is growing in my mind. And the longer I leave it there, the bigger it's going to get, bigger it's going to get. And then one day, I'm going to have a very similar experience where I'm going to be in a desperate, I need you to do something moment, and people are not going to help me. Yeah? That's what's growing in me right now. If every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So I want to get there before that begins multiplying into more and more seeds. And I want to crush it. And you do that through this thing called the 4 forces, which we'll cover in another course. But it's, in the essence of that is a kind of regret, I wish I hadn't done that, and a counter force, saying, I wish, I won't do that next time the opportunity comes up, I'll do the opposite. Yeah, that's a summary of that. So you go there and you clean those karmas. And if you're a person with vows, you go and confess your vows. And then you do the opposite. You've gone into the depths of your mind and gone, hold on, what are the awesomenesses that are growing in there that I could, if I fertilize them nicely, could multiply? So you go there and you think, today, what did I do so far, or yesterday, or this week? What's like the best thing? And I swear to you, this workshop I ran with these people was all business and all this, but then at the end, I totally framed it in a way that they could get the essence of karma and emptiness in a business setting. And I got this long email from one of these guys saying, like, really harsh guy, like serious business person, going, that was the most transformative thought I had in all my years of business, because I asked them to focus their goodness on all the people in the room. Yeah, I asked them to do a little bodhisattva activity, and what would it feel like, and we did an exercise. And to get this email just made me feel like I hit a nerve with this person, and I know I did it with the other people, and that's a kindness because I made them touch ultimate reality. And that's a kindness that is rare. So then I've got to feel good about that. Yeah, and I want to fertilize them. And then I've got to think, well, who else is doing stuff like that? And I've got to feel good about them doing stuff like that. You know? And then that fertilizes that state of mind that I'm putting my mind against. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the more I spend time there rejoicing, the bigger that karma gets. The more I pressure the negativities in me and shrinking them and rejecting them, not in a confrontational way, but a kind of regret and wish it didn't, how can I rip it, and so on, the lesser they get. Yeah? And so I'm trying to stack the odds. All this in getting ready to meditate. And then I ask, can you please teach me. All you beings I just created out of my mind. But logically believe true, because the deeper you believe it, the more real it's going to get. Please teach me and please stay. Yeah? And then you meditate. All this is just preparation. And there's a reason and a method to the madness. Okay? After you've meditated, you dedicate all that goodness, similar to, for the sake of everybody, give it away. Yeah? All that goodness. But here are the offerings, and I'd like to share the way I do them. When you lay down the water bowls, you can just put down water bowls for the sake of water bowls and have a nice offering to these enlightened beings. But if you hold them all in a stack on your left hand and you pour the water onto the first of the bowls of the stack, and then you begin to code your mind to say, every droplet, every particle of this water is Dharma, perfect wisdom entering the world. You imagine that cup being filled. And that cup is really your consciousness, your mind. Yeah, so you understand I have 7 bowls. The top one is empty. It's you, it's your consciousness. Yeah? It's your world. And you're pouring Dharma into it. Yeah? And that begins the offering. Yeah? And then you grab that one full of water and you pour the majority onto the second one, and here is your first offering of water to wash their feet, these enlightened beings. You're giving them, you're cleaning their feet. Yeah? You're bowing at their feet, you're cleaning their, and so you're imagining that, right? Perfect beings. Do you follow? Is that okay? You put it down. Now you have the other bowls. The top one has the majority of the water. You pour the rest onto the rolls. Still Dharma coming into the world. Perfect wisdom, understanding. A little bit left on that second bowl. You put it down. Water to quench their thirst. They've come from all over the universe to sit with me, to meditate. And you imagine them partaking of a complete bliss that they partake when they take that drink. Yeah? The same as when you wash their feet. Then you do the next bowl. And you put down a magnificent, beautiful flower. A beautiful opening of the most exquisite, delicate petals, right? Which visually just gives them complete bliss. Yep. Then you get the water, and that represents, and you put it down, put the next one down, and that represents incense. Beautiful scent. So the whole what is it? The olfactory system, or whatever you call it.
Olfactory?
That one. They're smelling stuff. It's bliss. And then you do it again, and you offer them light, yeah? So brightness and light and so on. And then you do it again, and you put ointment on their body, beautiful massage ointment. And lastly, some food for them to have abundance to eat. So what you understand, right? The water bowls are going there, and then less and less water all the way. There's a conch shell at the end, and this is music, yeah? But you then have the rest of your jug full of thing, and all these bowls are with a little bit of those things you just did. You just gave all these enlightened beings beautiful things. If you really lose yourself in that, you're coding your mind with giving to enlightened beings a perfect state of all their senses, including their mind and abundance and the rest. Every one of those actions must have a reaction. You must experience the result of those for you.
Is that before or after the preliminaries? After
That
the
is
hymns?
in the preliminary.
It is
That's
before.
before, right before. Yeah, setting up
So
the
that's
altar.
before
That's
the
number 2.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the part that I love the most. You now have to fill up those water bowls, and you can just go blah, 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 and they're full, right? Or you can begin to pour that water that is to wash their feet, intended to wash their feet or to cleanse them, and imagine every practitioner, every person that you've ever met who wants to get on a path to enlightenment, imagine their faces, which I do. I think of your faces and all the beings that I know that have ever meditated, and I imagine them cleansed of any obstacle whatsoever to their enlightenment. You actually imagine as clearly as you can. You know, I'm in a fortunate position in that you tell me all your problems, so I know your problems. Which makes me feel quite sane. No. Anyway, but I genuinely take those to my heart, and I imagine you don't have them anymore. So you fill that first water bowl, and you imagine every being that you connect with cleansed of whatever obstacle. Just imagine it gone. Imagine them without those fears or troubles. And then the water bowl that was offering the enlightened beings a drink, I imagine all of you quenched completely. Any thirst for anything, for wisdom, for love, for compassion, for anything you want, I imagine completely quenched. In a state where you're no longer wanting. Imagine what that does to your mind as you prepare for meditation. Okay? So then the next one, which is a flower, I actually imagine, as much as I can, all of you and every other being that I know that is on a path to awakening, their heart chakra or their inner system begin to open up, unravel, and completely vulnerably open. And you in a state of bliss with that open lotus on your heart. Yeah. And then with the incense, which is the next water, so as I'm filling out that next one, which I'm trying to say that's incense, yeah, I imagine with the movement of the incense, of the smoke going up, the winds in your inner systems, in your energies in your bodies, pushing up towards a state of complete enlightenment in your heart chakra, which is open now, right? So it's getting energy in the winds up there. Which leads to, smoke leads to fire, right? And when it gets there, as I'm pouring that water bowl, which is supposed to symbolize a flame for the enlightened beings, I imagine every single being that I know that is in a practice actually get the direct perception of emptiness in their heart, which is what this light symbolizes. And for that moment, I pause a little bit and try and overflow it, although not completely. Yeah, and I imagine like you guys are there. And then what it's supposed to signify, ointment over holy beings, I cover you guys in sealing that awareness, that realization of emptiness in you, completely sealed, can't get out. Yeah, sealing that realization in your minds. And then for your path of habituation, I imagine that you'll never go without sustenance, that you'll always have enough to eat and live and so on as you continue on your path to habituation. Which then lastly I look at the conch shell, and it means you are all singing the perfect awareness of Dharma in the world. Meaning every transaction you have, you bring karma and emptiness into it. And so that tiny ritual, which can just be boring putting water on a bowl, has just transformed your minds if you're doing it consciously like that, day after day after day after day. And that intention has to do something, right? It has to have an effect. Where does it have an effect? In the being who's been doing that. And it's just sitting there at an altar playing. And then all of a sudden your mind is ripe for meditation. Yeah, you're in a completely different state. You're not like, I got to get to work and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go till 10. If you need to go, I apologize. If you need to stay, you'd be wise. Yeah. I'll go through these quickly. Conditions for meditation, right? So where should you meditate? Yeah, you should have everything you need. It should be a safe place, meaning you're not feeling someone's going to come and open the door or knock on the door or something. The environment around you should be nice. People are not sick. It's not too hot, not too cold, not too noisy. You've got to do the best with what you can in New York. it's good if you do it around beings that are supportive of this practice, because this also allows you a freedom of relaxation around the meditation practice, and try and remove beings around you that are not conducive for that. Yeah. So live simply means you don't need too many things. Being satisfied with what you have, meaning so don't try and collect too many things. And here is just be happy with what you have. If you've got just a little box that you can put out somewhere, that's good. That's enough. Yeah. If you have a job that sort of pays for everything, that's okay. You know, if you have 2 friends and not 3 friends, that's okay. Like just develop the state of mind that isn't troubled looking for more and more and more, or saying I don't like this about my life and I don't like that about my life. You give up being too busy like an Oompa Loompa, which we have a tendency to do in New York. We overbook ourselves all the time. Yeah. So you make a decision. This is your decision. So am I going to get to the core of my consciousness? Am I going to get to a space in my mind where I actually get a glimpse at how things truly work, and therefore have a shot at real freedom? Like real freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from the states of mind that keep us locked in some kind of hurt or disappointment or struggling. And then maintaining a really ethical life. Being kind to others. Why? Because that's what's planting the courses for you to have these realizations. If you have mean things in your consciousness, they're going to pop up in meditation. Not a good idea. Yeah. And then you get rid of desire and worldly pleasure. So you exit the world of me. Yeah, and you try a different thing. Now, a personal advice. There was a proudness about growing up for me, because I was born in Argentina, and everybody that is from Buenos Aires thinks they're the best thing on planet. Yeah. So my dad taught us that really well. Like, I'm number 1, Vince number 1. Why are you number 1, Dad? And why is your name Vince? It's Hector. He goes, no, I'm Vince number 1. Because I'm from Buenos Aires and I'm very good. I'm super clever. I'm super intelligent, he used to say. I am super intelligent. Thinking me all the time locks you into having to protect that me. Yeah. When I first encountered these Eastern teachings, it gave me an alternative to a way of being that I could see everywhere. We're all about me. The world is full of greed and me. This is just a complete upside down way, a different way to try existence. You're bound to get a different result. I can tell what the other result is because everyone's living the other result. So that proud side of me, I flipped it and I used it to hook myself into a different way of doing it. Because I'm going to be special, I'm going to be different. I knew consciously back then that I could use the inertia, the ignorant inertia of my ego to suck me into something that would kill my ego. Yeah? And I thought that was really clever. What I'm saying to you is that whatever you think you're depressed or angry or sad or you have your problems, they can really propel you, and you can be clever about them, and you can use them to hook you into the thing that will get rid of that problem. Wherever you're at, you can get to Machu Picchu. Some are closer than others, but you can still get to Machu Picchu. Yeah. Before the coffin gets you. So then the 7 or 8 point Parachana posture is, I'll just go through it quickly. They say legs in full lotus position if you're doing a sitting meditation. Eyes half open. Yeah. Not fully closed, so not letting shapes, just enough to letting light. Your back straight, not on its side. Your shoulders not either side or forward. Yeah. But leveled. Your head not tilted too high up or not too down. It's a really nice locking thing that can happen when you put it into the right place where it sits on the back of your spine here. Not to the side either. Your mouth not fully opened. It's It's sort of gently resting, your teeth aren't quite touching. Your tongue is sitting at the tip of the palate where the teeth meet the palate. That's deconstructing the inside of your head. Yep. I couldn't find it. And your breath, which is one of the first objects we place our mind on, even though there are many other objects. It's not forced. Okay, you have to. This was a struggle for me at the beginning. You actually have to watch what your breath is doing and then watch it, not make it do something and then watch it. Yeah. So that's the summary of that. Now we're going to talk about mental processes, which is the core of what I should have taught today. But anyway, you can find all this information for $9.99 online. Yeah. So the 5 problems of meditation and the 8 antidotes, which relate to the 5 problems thus. Yeah. So I'll go through them quickly. Who doesn't know these? Sorry. Who does not know them? Okay. Quickly, the first problem is I don't want to do it. They call it laziness or lay low. Yeah. But the first 4 antidotes relate to that very problem. And the way to fix, like for all of us, we're busy people. We might not want to sit down and meditate. It's because we don't know the benefits. If you really believed what I said today, that the only way to freedom out of the cycles of suffering is for you to spend enough time with your mind to see where it is fabricating the false reality that causes you to trip over it and suffer, hurt. And then you get up again with all this hope, and then you trip again, and it's not out there. It's not the boss, and it's not the relationship, and it's not the money, and it's not the apartment, it's not your gut, and it's not your hair, and it's not your weight, and it's not your... Yeah? Although those are what the mind is saying appears, right? If you realize that it's actually this way, something in you attaching some meaning to all those instances, if you really understood that only by meditation could you access the code that is creating that and undo it, you would sit down and meditate all the time. So the first antidote is you think of the benefits, and in thinking of the benefits you want to do it. Yeah, you're like, oh, I better go sit down. Then you take some action, you sit down and do it. And then you develop that until you get practiced. And initially, physically, it's a problem to get practiced. Even if you've been meditating for many years, your body changes and you have to sort of adjust your practice regularly. The next problem of meditation is forgetting the instruction, meaning you lose the object of meditation. Whatever your mind is supposed to be on, you have no control over your mind, and it starts thinking and wandering on other things. So obviously the antidote to that is remembering that I have to put my mind on something, right? So remembering the instruction that you were given to meditate on. If you're meditating on your breath, for example, which is one of the first things people meditate on. There are many traditions that only meditate on that. In this tradition, we say go beyond that quickly. And a beautiful image of your Lama, your teacher, the perfect bliss appears. You're off the object. You're not meditating. Yeah? Because it's your mind taking you on a ride rather than you really engaging with your mind. The point of this mind training is to really get to a state of being where you understand how your mind is creating your reality. When you get to that point, you can play with all the other meditations. Then the 2 big things are mental dullness and agitation, and you do that with this alarm bell kind of watchfulness that happens in your mind. You develop this state of mind that is always observing how your mind is going. Warning, if you're a overthinker, this thing can turn into a beast, okay? And it can be overwhelming, and watchfulness can come and interrupt your meditation. Pain in the ass. Yeah. Not only that, it can be forever. It can find a voice and be forever watching your mind and telling you what's going right and wrong in your everyday. Warning. Yeah. Develop watchfulness, but you got to keep it on a nice leash. And then when your mind is aware that you're off the object, you might not take action. So the result is you should take some action. And if your mind is agitated, you should bring it down. If your mind is dull, you should bring it up, and there are techniques for that. And then once you've figured out how to maneuver your mind, if you're agitated, you might do some things to bring your mind down. You might take a moment and reflect on impermanence or death or something to bring your mind into, okay, a settling down space. When you're used to using these techniques to begin to take control of your mind, and you get used to that, just like watchfulness, they can begin to act habitually. And at moments where you're actually in deep meditation, they might go, why don't we just veer to the left and address this? And you might be taking action when you don't need to, which is the last obstacle, taking action when not required. And the antidote to that is don't. There are 9 stages of meditation, which I wish I could have more time to cover, but I'll cover quickly, okay? And I've divided them into 3 core areas. Really, the red one is you're not meditating very well at all. Stage 1 and 2 are really for young novices. Yeah, I believe if you've meditated, you're pretty much past those 2. The first one is really just getting your mind on the object. So if I say to you right now, sit in a meditation posture and imagine in front of you an enlightened being, as long as you sit down and bring to mind an enlightened being, you're on stage 1. You're done. Okay? Yay, success. And then stage 2 is you can have that visualization or the breath or whatever it is for short spurts and with some interruptions in between. Yeah? So you're really like, okay, I'm on the object that I'm supposed to bring my mind to. Could be the breath, it could be an image of an enlightened being. And then your mind wanders, the alarm goes off a little, and your mind comes back. Yeah? But the gaps are wide in between moments of concentration. So I'd say the first part, the 1 and 2, you're sort of very novice, very beginner. I believe most of the people in here are probably somewhere between 3 and 7, where you can keep your mind on the object for longer periods than interruption. You have good recollection. The tip here, in the short time I've got, is when you're habituating your mind, when your mind is on an object of meditation, it could be death meditation, it could be your lama, it could be your breath. And then watchfulness rings the bell and says, hold on, Hector, why are you thinking about breakfast? Yeah? At that time, it is crucial that you associate a goodness with bringing your mind back on the object, not a negativity. Okay? Because then it just becomes another human excuse to feel crap about yourself, not the object of meditation. You understand now every imprint in your mind must create every experience in your mind. That's a crucial, important thing. You're habituating your mind to come back to the object. You should feel nothing but joy. As soon as the alarm goes off, go, oh my goodness, I'm actually meditating. This feels awesome. Let me bring it back. Wow, that took a little while. Breakfast. No, this is good. I'm on it. Look at me. I did it. Yeah? Technically, you're not meditating at that time. But you are associating a really positive karma to that habit of bringing your mind on the object with joy, with positivity. Tip. Yeah? Obviously, then you begin to battle gross agitation and dullness. And then in the next stages, you begin to battle subtle agitation and dullness until you attain single-pointedness, vipassana mixed with shamatha, and when you're actually in deep state of meditation, stage 9. It looks like this. These were the stages we just covered, the ones I went from 1 through to 9. And what you see here is a monk with 2 instruments. One's called a goad. Goad is a hook. Goad. It's what they used to tame elephants. And the other one's a lasso. And then you've got a monkey, and then you've got a hare. Yeah. the elephant, the blacked out elephant, is representative of your mind in a dull state. The monk running behind the elephant at the beginning, so your mind is racing ahead, and you who are trying to meditate are running behind, trying to catch up with these implements, this goad or whatever it's called, the hook, and this lasso, trying to begin to tame that elephant. And you're going to get closer and closer and closer from the racing mind, the powerful, strong elephant mind that is wild in dark color, and you're bringing it closer. It's being led by a monkey mind, which is agitation. So the dark monkey at the beginning here, and the dark elephants, gross dullness, gross agitation. Okay. The monk being you with your implements trying to hook it. The other thing to note about this beautiful chart, which has instructions on it, is that it also has these flames that are getting smaller and smaller, which represent the amount of effort you need to control that mind. Yeah. Then there's also fruit. Let's see if I remember. Fruit, which has to do with the five objects of the senses. So when your mind begins to get attracted to objects of the senses, so that these temptations are all along the path as well. And here's what it looks like in an animation that I've shown you before. But imagine the closeness that you get to the elephant is the closeness you get to your state of mind to control it. Once you hook it, you begin to control agitation and dullness. And then at some point the monk comes in front of the elephant where you're leading your mind and not your mind, you're not dragging behind. Yeah? And at some point you say, piss off to the monkey, the agitated mind, and at some point your whole dullness disappears, which is the darkness from the elephant disappears.
Did you make this one?
Yeah, I made it yesterday. No. Some person in Russia made it and I just stole it from YouTube. Yeah. A lot of effort, the fire. Yeah. Objects of the senses. He's getting closer. And I think he's going to go for it with a little bit less effort. The elephant begins to change. Less dullness. The agitation becomes less because the monkey's head begins to change too. He's on it. I can't remember what the hair represents. And at some point in meditation, I think this is stage 7 or 6, you actually begin to control the mind, even though there's still subtle dullness and agitation there. And this is an awesome point where you say to subtle agitation, bye-bye.
But you're cool with dullness?
Hmm?
Why do you
Dullness
keep...
disappeared too. That was subtle dullness, the last part of the elephant turned black to white.
Why is there still an elephant though?
It's your mind. The darkness is the dullness. And then you're actually in a state where you enter effortless meditation, where you can, once you've developed this state, you actually, at sit down, it takes no effort at all, and you have an internal, yeah, you have rainbows, no unicorns.
Well, why no unicorn? What about the elephant? He's got flames coming out.
And that's all happening in his mind. So, I won't cover the rest other than your motivation for meditating should be one of these 3 scopes, which is I don't want to continue suffering life worse than my current one, so may my future rebirth not be worse than what it is, such as the lower realms there. Or a medium motivation might be I just want to have an awesome awakening for me, I want to become my own superhero. Or the highest motivation is the greater scope, which is thinking like a bodhisattva and acting like a bodhisattva. May I be free from suffering for the sake of all beings, which is the second of the path. And then I'll talk next time about objects of meditation. But in essence, the more powerful the object, the faster the results of meditation. And that's why in this tradition, they make holy beings, enlightened beings, your core object of meditation and not the breath. The breath is just a transition to get your mind practicing on meditating. Don't get stuck on the breath, because the breath is a neutral object for meditation. It can serve you, it can teach you about your mind. It might take you months or years to focus on that, but at the same time, we encourage you to understand mental formations with the teaching of karma and emptiness, and realize that meditating on those can have a much powerful effect than just on your breath. Yeah, your breath can get you to a state of meditation, but it's not useful if you don't have a powerful object of meditation. The most powerful object of meditation, obviously, is you believing that there are beings out there specific for you that can teach you enlightenment. And once you make that connection in your mind begins to be coded as if you got your own path to enlightenment, which produces your own path to enlightenment as a real thing. I think that's the last thing I've got to say about that, other than, let's see that. Start a practice. Meditate regularly. Observe your world. It's not the way you think it is. When things go wrong or right, where do you go for refuge? Where does your mind think these things come from? And contemplate wisdom all the time. Let's do a quick dedication and a finish. Thank you for letting me talk till 10 o'clock. Okay.
Sashi Bhagir Jishin Metotram Riralin Shin Degam Padi Sangye Shindu Miteluadi Drakun Namda Shingva Chupasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niyatayami Devadivyoku Sunam Yeshet Zoksokshin Sunam Yeshet Lejun Wei Dampa Kuni Tupasho.
Thank you so much for coming, and may it serve you, and may you have realizations about what we covered today. May you use it to wake you and the world around you up, please. Time is short.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I know.
Keep teaching.
Look at
That's
that
cool.
little girl. She's
I
an
know.
adult.
Forgot that she was there. I used this when I was first doing this. She was having a heart transplant. She had just landed from Nepal. She was here a week,
Yeah.
then passed out. Her father ran her to a hospital, no insurance. Her mother not speaking English.